All right, I would like to call the meeting to order a little after 7 on Tuesday, the 21st of January. Thank you all for coming, and I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis people, and this meeting is being video recorded and will be uploaded to our website in a couple of days, available for viewing on YouTube through our website. Introductions, can I start with you, Graham?
Yes, I'm Graham Randall.
Penny McMorris.
Raymond Morrow, CAO.
Steve Axworthy.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Bartmanovich.
Thank you, gentlemen. Adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted with the following changes. AMM Insurance Program meeting. Bylaw 1605, Subdivision Administrative Fees. Northeastman Municipal Forum attendance. Graham?
Okay. So moved.
I'm so used to sitting it down.
I know. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any other discussion on the adding to the agenda? No? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Remind me what we added. Moving on. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Be it resolved, the minutes of January 7th, 2020 regular council meeting be adopted as presented, and they have been circulated to all members of council. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartman. Any further discussion on the minutes, gentlemen? All good? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no delegations this evening, so we'll move on to the committee reports. Public Works, Mike, please. I believe it's $5. I believe it's a $5 fee.
Stuart, it's $5 for having an electronic device on. Well, as would be expected, Public Works' main focus has been on managing the snow that we've had this month thus far. So they've been keeping our roads nice and plowed. Garbage continues being picked up on a regular basis. The new sander has arrived, and it has been put into action on many of our municipal roads and lanes. The grader recently needed repairs, which are now completed, and those of you who are snow clearing aficionados will have noticed the difference between our first road clear of the year and our second road clear of the year. The first road clear was done with small blades on trucks, and they did a valiant job, but it sure is nice to have that grader back. They are continuing to do ongoing maintenance and repair to vehicles and equipment. The skating rink has been flooded, so let's all shinny on down there and have a game of pickup one of these days. Public Works staff continues to remove dead trees on road allowances and RM property. This is not on private property unless a municipal tree has fallen onto private property, then property owners should be contacting Public Works. And even though the water ain't on, monthly water samples continue to be taken into the city for testing in compliance with Manitoba Health and the Office of Drinking Water. And that's about her.
Thank you. Moving on to Finance. Irwin is away today with regrets. So I'll just highlight a few of the bigger expenditures. Our Traverse Bay Landfill and Lagoon. We are half owners and we pay the Arm of Alexander our share. In December we paid about $8,300. Grader repairs, as Mike mentioned, were $5,000. Sander purchase was $7,000. We paid Lord Selkirk School Division their final payment of 2019, $140,931. And we've had some software upgrades at the RM office for about $4,400. And we'll be dealing with accounts and finances at the end, right, after this. So, okay. Protective services. Mike, do you want to do police first?
No, sure.
I don't have the stats with me, to say the specific breakdowns. However, in general, I am happy to report that our police presence is working, and the number of calls that come in requesting police assistance have gone down significantly. I am working with a couple of folks there to get a spreadsheet to better reflect for me. I mean, they all know what's going on. It's me, the slow one, to better reflect just the actual breakdowns of the types of calls, and I'll be prepared to present those starting next month going forward. However, just a reminder, we did have our first police board meeting of the year last Tuesday, the 14th, and the rest of the 3 quarterly police board meetings will be here at Social Scene, April 14th, July 14th, and October 13th starting at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, fire?
With the fire, all of the calls were in the Arm of Alexander last month. 2 of the calls were of a medical nature, and 1 fire call was a structure fire. The structure fire was a total loss, but no one was hurt. The cause of the fire is unknown. None of the residents were severely impacted. There was not enough of the building left to make a positive determination as to the starting point of the fire. We continue to train and maintain our gear and equipment. Our instructors are working with our new recruits to teach them the skills they need to work with our members at an emergency call. The new recruits are invited to our regular training nights to see who we are and what we do. The council did have a meeting with, we attended a dinner for the fire department. Thank you. Words aren't coming to me. It was fantastic. We all said thank you, and yeah, they do a phenomenal job. And we also got to meet all the new recruits, which is great. So,
okay. Thanks very much, and kudos to our fire department and our first responders for attending to the scene on Saturday night as well. It would have been a very difficult one, and our condolences to the Jonker family. Special events, I do not have a report. Golf course.
It is later on on the agenda. Maybe I'll just hold off what's going on till then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Municipal buildings.
In terms of municipal buildings, I'm carrying on with a rather long list of items that need to be done on a number of buildings. I've gotten contractors lined up. I've got some quotes on some of the key items. There's others that we're going to have to wait for milder weather to get meaningful quotes from contractors. The work on the golf course clubhouse is a big item, and there's quite a few items associated with the Moonlight Inn, specifically pertaining to the report that Safety Services prepared for us. So I'm addressing these bit by bit. One item that popped up was asbestos in a few of the washrooms, and if you go, oh my goodness, asbestos, this could be really expensive. I've contacted 3 firms. I've met with one of them so far. It's just a piddly little job. It's not going to cost very much, that's a blessing. So that gives more money so we can deal with other stuff. I've been in touch with Aaron to fill him in, and with council's permission, I sent Aaron a copy of the report on the Moonlight Inn. He has a right to know what's there and what we're doing on it. So I'll just cut it short for municipal buildings because so much of it is a work in process as we wait for the weather to moderate.
Thanks, Graham. Doctor, Irwin's not here, so I'm assuming no report. Communications, Mike and Steve, any updates there?
Thanks, Betty. Just that Steve and I are staying in constant communication with AllNet, the folks that are going to be developing our new website. We went through what's called a 10 and 10 exercise, where AllNet, the vendor, asked us to give them some ideas, specifically websites that have the form and the functionality that we like to see, things that we think will make the website as user-friendly for the residents and for visitors to the site as possible. At the same time, making it as easily maintainable as possible so that we can keep it as current as possible, so that we don't have bylaws around that we're gone 100 years ago. So anyway, they've received that, and we're talking with the project manager, and the project manager is just waiting on a designer to be dedicated to our project, and that designer will be taking the results of the 10 and 10 exercise and putting together an initial website for us to review and critique.
It's a work in progress.
One of the things that we did for the website on top of the 10 and 10 was to actually break down how the website would look, not in terms of the design itself, but in terms of the subcategories and the different pages within those subcategories. So, based on what I think we agreed on, the end result should be a lot more user friendly and a lot easier to find the most important information. So, and then there was also quite a bit of interactivity with our residents, rather than just simply being one way. It'll be a little bit more two-way. Yeah.
Who's going to monitor that two-way?
It would be generally active. I can go over everything with you a little bit later on it, but yeah, it would be things for like public works and trails and fire and so on and so forth.
Okay, well, we'll see what they come up with.
Thanks, Steve and Mike. Another item that interested me on the website, communication, is particular emphasis on provision for people who have visual deficiencies. And I don't know if that's been pointed out, but I think our friend Rod Bowman would be happy to hear that on the accessibility group.
Turn me off. I've been in contact with Rod, and there's a couple people on our accessibility committee who would like to provide some input. So we're working through that.
Well,
and
there is provision to enhance.
Yeah.
What we're one step at a time. But that's good.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. Gate. Oh, would you like the last word?
No, I'll let Rod have the last word.
All right. The gate, we don't have a report, but it's my understanding that we will be looking for employees this summer for the gate. So if you know of anyone who would like summer employment from about the 23rd or so of June to the September long weekend, please encourage them to submit a resume by email to the office or by regular mail. Building inspector?
Building Inspector Curtis, as usual, was very timely with his reports. Briefly, for the month of December, $156,000 worth of permits, $543 in fees, and even more interesting, Curtis put together an annual report, which is rather exciting. Permits issued in the year, 3,030,160, 3 million. So we are, in some ways, a growing improving, that was the value of the permits. Somewhat less interesting, but nothing to sneeze at, is the fees that we collected, which is 25,000 and change. So that's not too bad either. But 3 million in permits, hey, that speaks of some health in our community. So thank you for that. Kudos.
Thanks very much. Moving on to accessibility. The updated municipal accessibility plan and customer service standard documents are now up on our website. Hard copies are available at the RM office, and a copy has been sent to the Disability Issues Office. And the committee has started preliminary work on the next standard, which is the accessibility standard for employment. And 3 members of the committee, myself and Irwin included, attended a workshop in late 2019 to provide input on a new standard called the Standard of Transportation, or for transportation. And I'd really like to thank the office for sprucing up the documents and getting them on the website. Thank you. Heritage, Steve?
I'm still trying to get over the 3 million permits we issued. We're larger than Toronto. So for Heritage, the biggest issue has really been the fact that it's just so much work to try to get everything. So part of the website will be dedicated to Heritage, and it'll be broken down into 3 different sections. One will be for artifact registration and submission. So if you want to submit something for Heritage, that we would hold on. If there's a couple of things that we need to discuss as to how we're going to hold on to these artifacts, but you'd be able to go on and to register and submit them, so that then we would be able to come by, rather than it just being going to each individual that comes to us one at a time. We'd also have a section for heritage stories and registration. So if you have a story that you think is worthwhile to that talks about our heritage, you'd be able to write it up and submit it, and then we'd be able to post it. And then there'd also be one for video as well. Other than that, there's a couple of plaques which we were looking at trying to get made. One for the correction for all the original families that came to Victoria Beach. There's an interesting story, but basically there was a plaque made, but all the dates are wrong. The plaque is beautiful, but it's extremely offensive. So we need to remake the plaque and put the proper dates on there as to when people actually came here. And then there was another one for our veterans. There is a list over in the church. It's paper, but to get it made into a permanent iron or some sort of metallic memorial that we could put up. So yeah. Anyway.
Thank you, Steve. Just quickly back to website, Steve and Mike. The website's probably a good place to find a nice chunk of our heritage, perhaps a whole category of its own.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it would be. So you would go there, and you'd have the option of taking a look at different heritage stories, our general heritage, as well as accessing some videos on the website itself. So if you wanted to see some things, like there was that amazing video that came out last winter, I think it was, of like 30 or 40 years ago. Yeah. Sort of 50 or 60, yeah, pre-audio, and somebody can submit, post it up. We can take a look at it, see whether or not it's acceptable to go on the website, and then make it readily available. And then for artifacts, have a picture, and then where you might be able to find it. But yeah, it'll all come together. There will be a heritage section for sure.
A lot of stuff. Oh yeah.
I don't know, maybe we should start a heritage committee and they can take over some of this.
You got it.
We have a heritage committee.
You're the heritage.
I'm the heritage committee.
I know, but
Well, everyone, this is a meeting.
just trying to help you out. Okay.
Want to join? That'd be great.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything on trails, Steve?
I will not comment on trails up until the major issue has been completed.
Okay. I can say that the trails around the golf course, and there's another trail, sort of a 5-kilometer loop that has been groomed by the volunteer cross-country ski group, so that's nice. My husband has tried it out.
Who have a letter of agreement between the RM and themselves for their trail route.
Yep.
So, and they were extremely respectful. They took pictures. They sent it to me. That there was a trail made by the people who want just to have natural trails. They went next to it as close to the trees as possible, so that they were not interfering with those trails.
Yeah. All right, and I just want to add, if I may, that Irwin and I were at the Red River Basin Commission Conference in Fargo last week, and that is a 3-day annual event. It was the 37th annual, and it's an amazing gathering of people from the Red River Basin who are from North Dakota, Minneapolis, bit of South Dakota, Manitoba. There's members from the International Joint Commission who attend, state and provincial officials, elected officials, water specialty engineers, nonprofit groups and other organizations that are interested in working cooperatively to improve the health of the basin and the watershed that feeds into our Lake Winnipeg. So it's always a really interesting conference, and it's interesting to see the amount of money and the resources that the U.S. side has to throw at the Red River Basin. I wish we had an Army Corps of Engineers, but we don't. But they are working with both sides, on both sides of the border, and it is encouraging. Every year it gets more encouraging. So I just wanted you to know that. All right. So be it resolved that the January committee reports be accepted as presented. I'll pass it your way too. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any further discussion on the committee reports? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to accounts and finances. Be it resolved, the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Accounts payable checks 8055 to 8100 in the amount of $241,100.99, and January 10th payroll in the amount of $23,595.96. Can I? Moved by Councillor Bartmanovich, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any further discussion on the list of accounts?
No.
Okay, no questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. No business arising from the previous meeting. Moving on to other business. Be it resolved that bylaw 1603, authorizing the payment of indemnities to the Reeve Council, be given second reading. And you can fight over there. Thank you, gentlemen. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any discussion on second reading?
No.
No? No? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to third reading of bylaw 1603, be it resolved that bylaw 1603, authorizing the payment of indemnities to the Reeve Council, be given third reading and passed, and this is a recorded vote. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any further discussion on third and final reading? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to bylaw 1604, capital development reserve and levies. Second and third reading. Be it resolved that bylaw 1604 establishing subdivision capital levies and a capital development reserve as amended be given second reading. I'll send it that way. So, there you go. Moved by Councillor Axworthy? Seconded by Councillor Randall. Yes, they do. It's just a scribble. Any further discussion on second reading? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one. So the dollar figures were being raised slightly only to match the what we saw from other municipalities, and yeah, just trying to be a little bit more fair, because what we had before was, I think it was the lowest in the province. So 30 years old too. And 30 years old as well. So
yeah, and it doesn't affect any subdivisions that are currently underway. Not that we. All right. Any further discussion on second reading? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Be it resolved that bylaw 1604 establishing subdivision capital levies and a capital development reserve be given third reading and passed. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any discussion on third and final reading? No. All those in favor? Unanimous. Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to the Stantec engineering proposal. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council accept the quote from Stantec Consulting Limited dated January 17th, 2020 regarding the installation of generators at the fire hall and the Victoria Beach water treatment plant. Total cost of said services $22,907 excluding GST. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Randall. Any discussion? Mike?
Thanks, Penny. I'm really torn with this one. 22 grand to pay to a contractor who may write proposals and specs that basically chokes out any competition whatsoever is a little disconcerting to me on one hand. On the other hand, this is something that we have to do right the first time, and none of us at this table have the knowledge to put together a proper spec for what we're looking for. So indeed, we do have to depend on some kind of professional input on that. I'm just kind of wondering if this whole process should go to tender, so that tendering would be basically a detailed design and spec document as a first deliverable, and then a second deliverable would be the rewarding of that contract. Thank you.
I respectfully disagree with Mike. It's pretty difficult to go to tender. We'd have to consult 3 or more consulting firms and have a runoff between the 3 firms. Who's willing to do this? I'm generally satisfied that Stantec, their track record with us, I think we can trust them. I don't understand how it would limit the quotes. As a matter of fact, what they're doing in terms of detailed design, blah, 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 should enable us to get a better range of quality quotes. No, it's a big number for getting a whole lot of paper, but they're doing some, they're providing us with a lot of information we can use to go forward. Now, Raymond, as you know, has been back and forth to these guys 2 or 3 times. He's squeezed them every way he could. The last time around, they dropped their price by another $1,000, so there wasn't much water left in that well. I believe we could trust Stantec to get our money's worth. The important thing is what we're getting from them is what we need to go forward with the quotes. And of course, it'll be up to us to communicate with them every step of the way to make sure we get our money's worth out of them. And I think we, with Raymond at the helm, I think we have the ability to do that.
I think it's also worth remembering that Stantec were and the engineer that Raymond's been dealing with are the ones who built the plant.
Yeah, and I think that's why I had originally said, get Stantec to tell us what we need. But now that they're doing that, I just have to ask all the questions. Graham is confident. I know Raymond has wrung them out about as dry as they can be wrung. So if those 2 gentlemen are confident in the veracity of the Stantec quote, then I'm happy with it. Thanks.
Cautiously optimistic.
I think, as Penny has pointed out, Stantec were the consulting engineers when the water system was rebuilt. They are very familiar with that plant. They have all the plans and specs of the entire water system, including that water plant and the electrical in the building. Their service provision here includes commissioning this generator, this diesel generator. We have to make sure that this diesel generator will function properly, operate the plant seamlessly, as though you had electrical power. So it's much more than just gathering information and putting out a tender. The other component to this is the plan is the municipality will buy the generator independently, because they provided us with the information as to what we need in terms of power. And we're working on an angle there with through federal procurement. We're hoping to get a pretty good deal in terms of the generator we require for the water plant. The fire hall, we already have the generator, so it's a matter of putting in a transfer switch.
Is federal procurement above and beyond, it is federal procurement above and beyond the scope of the AMM Buyers Club? It's a much bigger shopping mall? Okay.
I'm hoping and expecting that it will be substantially cheaper to buy a generator through them. Their scope of generators they were tendering on were from the smallest to massive generators, far greater than what we need. So the tenders closed January 7th, hoping that we're going to get an email shortly telling us who they awarded the tender to, and then we just go to that company and say, okay, we want to purchase a 350 kilowatt generator, providing the price is, because Stantec also provided us with 3. They did some sourcing out of 3 different companies so we can compare prices and have an idea.
One last comment, if I may. The recent budgetary meetings and another one coming up in a couple of weeks, we haven't shoved generator numbers in that yet, but we expect to be able to before too long.
The generator would be funded through Capital Development Reserve and Gas Tax Reserve, so we're not planning on hitting up the taxpayer through a levy.
That's what I wanted you to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Raymond. Any further questions? Mike?
The tendering process for the generator was restricted to members of the AMM market?
It's federal. It's federal procurement.
Federal procurement. Oh, so the feds tell us what we're getting? Is that what I'm not getting this?
No, they tender for a whole bunch of different things, but the one that was interesting to us was generators, and I spoke with the Manitoba rep. She's represents the province, and the way it works is so they had tenders out for generators, and they, from the smallest generator, I don't know if it probably is a gas-powered generator, all the way up to these massive generators that probably you'd need a room to put them in. So their tender covers a myriad of generators, diesel generators, including the size we need. So when we see the price on a 350 kilowatt generator, and assuming it's going to be thousands of dollars cheaper than the ones that Stantec sourced out, then I think we're good to go with a purchase. What we'll do is we'll go directly to the company, say it's Cummins, and say, okay, we want to buy a 350 kilowatt generator at this price, and here's the procurement number. There must be some sort of number attached to it. So that's the process we would do.
You'll direct without anything extra to Stantec. They don't.
So we're assuming that because it's coming from this procurement program, this national procurement program, that is going to be the best price possible? Well, see, I don't like the word hopefully. I would still like to see if we've got the spec, I'd still like to see if there's something out there, because think about it, Cummins is a brand name. It may come with a premium just for the name. There are a lot of other manufacturers of generators out there that may do just as well for considerably less because they don't have the Cummins stencil on them.
Yeah, no, I just use Cummins as an example. Who knows who the winning tender will be, and of course once we see that number, then we can go out and do our own resourcing,
That's all I wanted to hear.
Well,
Thank you.
We won't jump at one price. We'll go take a look for sure.
It's a solid number that we could shop. Good.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
That was a good one.
That was a good one. All right. Do you need me to read this over again? Are we good to go? Can I ask? All right. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. (2020) golf rates. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council approved the 2020 golf course rates as follows. Memberships. Do I need to read these out? No. You do have them all? Okay, and they will be posted, I'm assuming, on the website. So if you have them all in front of you, I will ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Bartmanovich, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any discussion on the golf rates? Mike, do you want to speak to this? Yeah.
Thanks, Betty. Just basically, in terms of memberships, adult memberships will see a nominal increase in the rate of a membership. Juniors and 12 and unders, we continue to freeze those prices. We want to encourage young golfers to come out and begin enjoying the game as much as possible. Walk-up green fees for 9 holes remain $15 weekdays, $17 weekends. This is so we can stay competitive with our competition here in the area. Also, lockers, there's a very small increase in locker rentals for seasonal and monthly rates. And yeah, we did limit a category of locker. The locked upper lockers are no more. So I guess that would mean that there's probably less locked lockers available this year. So if you're a locked locker fan, you might want to get Carl on the phone, except he's in Puerto Vallarta right now, and book your locker as soon as possible. Okay.
And Mike, you had a conversation with, or text messaging, you were back and forth with Carl on these membership rates, and he okayed them. And
yeah, Carl is fine with these. With the purchase of the new mower and repairs to existing equipment, the stuff that he's managed to keep together with bubblegum and baling wire for so long, we have to absorb the hit.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And I'm a golfer. This hurts me.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
Moving on to the asset management policy. Be it resolved that the arm of Victoria Beach Council adopt a municipality's asset management policy dated January 21st, 2020. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any further discussion? Mike?
It's an excellent policy, and it's an excellent first step in the recognition that the RM for too long has been a little bit on the slipshod side in terms of managing the assets that this municipality owns, and I hope we'll take this to the next logical step, and that is considering the number of physical assets and human assets that this municipality has working for it, that we will look for a proper asset management system to best manage these assets.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing. That's in no way a shot at at our employees or our staff. They've done a phenomenal job. It's just, it's been a long time coming. So we got used to one way, and now we have a way to improve.
I think it's also fair to say, though, that our assets have been recorded over the years, and they have been depreciated according to certain programs and all that kind of thing. So it's not completely new, but it's nice to have a policy.
While our assets have certainly not been mismanaged in the past, what we're doing is moving forward to take advantage of new developments in technology and software to make a pretty decent program even better.
No, not for a second was I suggesting mismanagement. It's just there's so much more that we could be doing with our asset management utilities.
And it's nice of you to say that our employees and our residents are assets. All right.
There's one right there.
All right. Any further discussion on this resolution? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to Prairie Land and Water Strategy Workshop. Be it resolved that Reeve McMorris, Steve, did you get the invitation? It was sent to you?
I did,
Okay.
yeah, and I will be going.
Okay, so, okay. Thank you. Be it resolved that Reeve McMorris and Councillor Axworthy be authorized to attend the Prairie Land and Water Strategy Workshop on February 6, 2020 in Winnipeg. Further be it resolved the municipality cover all associated costs to attend said workshop per the terms of bylaw 1603. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any further discussion? I can give a little update on what it's all about. It's put on by Water Smart Solutions Limited and the Western Economic Diversification Canada project team. And it's a full-day workshop in Winnipeg. And the goal is to encourage a pan-prairie dialogue that would build toward a shared vision and framework for action. In the near term, the main objective is to identify the conditions necessary to enhance water security and sustainable water and land management across the prairies. And it goes on. So it should be an interesting workshop. There's no charge for the workshop, it's just our charge to attend.
My interest in going is obviously the lake. I have something that I'm working on very hard with the lake. I can't announce it yet, but this is going to be a really big plus in terms of being able to make a bunch of contacts to try to get it off the ground. So,
all right. Any further discussion?
No, just to thank Penny and Steve for taking the time to attend.
Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, this is an add-on to our agenda. Be it resolved that Councillor Kumka be authorized to attend the AMM Insurance Information Meeting on February 7th, 2020 in Winnipeg. Further be it resolved, the municipality cover all associated costs to attend said meeting per the terms of bylaw 1603. Thank you, gentlemen. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Be it resolved that bylaw 1605, establishing fees for the examination and approval of subdivisions, be given first reading. Pass it your way. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any discussion since this is first reading?
Maybe a few words from Raymond as to how it serves to replace the moldy oldie one that you're trying to deal with.
You just passed 1603 a little while, or 1604, sorry, a while ago, to do with Capital Development Reserve. That levy was, or that bylaw was passed in 1998, and it was called for $400 per lot levy on subdivisions. This new bylaw increases it to $1,000 per lot within the subdivision. So it kind of connects with this 1605, which is, it was a two-component levy, formerly $400 capital development, $300 administrative, and that goes in general operating budget towards reducing property taxes. This bylaw 1605 is changing that 300 to 500 per lot created within plan of subdivision. It also includes charges, applicable charges to do with anything involving the subdivision, which was the same in the previous bylaw. However, the rates have changed, but they cover things like legal, variance, zoning, surveying, all the components that the municipality might pay out of pocket, but then go back and bill the developer for. So it's a repetition of the existing one with higher rates included.
And this was last done, this bylaw was 1998 as well. Okay.
And like 1604, it's a moderate, like 1604 is a moderate increase in the fees, which I believe also brings them more in line with what other municipalities charge.
It does. Any further discussion, Steve?
I just want to say that I'm 100% against the idea of, or the excuse of, and I'm not saying that we're making an excuse, I'm just saying that the general excuse of, oh, we're the lowest, therefore we should be charging more. But I think $400 is a very small number to be asking with respect to these costs. So I think $1,000 is much more in line with at least today's figures. But I didn't make the decision to say let's go up to $1,000 strictly based off the fact that, oh, we're the lowest. So I just want to throw that out there. I hate that excuse.
We did do research as well, but anyway, and we are low. All right. Any further discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor? First reading. Thank you. Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Be it resolved that Councillor Bartmanovich be authorized to attend the Northeast Man Municipal Forum on February 10th, 2020 in Lac Bonnie. Further be it resolved the municipality cover all associated costs to attend said forum as per the terms of bylaw 1603. This is...
Before we get it signed, could we have that amended? Councilor Randall had also voiced...
Graham's on that committee already, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
so yeah.
Sort of automatic.
He automatically goes.
I shared the email with you, so we're on the same page.
Good, okay.
You don't need to approve my attendance, but I'm glad Mike's going with me. Well, or I'm good.
So I'll do second.
Either one of us. I can second it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, moved by Councillor Axworthy. Seconded by Penny McMorris. You can actually read that. Just saying. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay.
I like my signature.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried, thanks. All right. That concludes the rest of the 3 additions to the agenda. We're moving on to correspondence. Does anybody have anything to?
Not this time. Nothing very exciting.
It has been very quiet, but there was one that came up about wildlife feeding. And I would just like to remind our residents that we do have a bylaw regulating the feeding of wildlife, and Manitoba Conservation, and which I think they're now Manitoba Sustainable Development, can order people to stop feeding wildlife, and they can be charged and fined. One of the issues is deer, right? So if you're feeding deer, they become attracted to homes and farms, and their risk for vehicle collisions is higher. Feeding deer also attracts other predators such as coyotes and wolves. And let's just be cognizant of that and not feed the deer. And I do have some information here from Conservation if anyone wants to have a look at what they print out.
For more info, would that work on our website?
I think we can put that on the website if you want. Yeah. And the Boreal Shores Art Tour, any budding artists out there, it's on August 15th and 16th, 2020, and they are looking for artists. The deadline is January 31st. So, Mike?
Just back to the feeding of animals for just a second. We discovered that we were unknowingly feeding the deer because they were tipping our bird feeder, and we thought it was, well, beer feeder, yeah, sure, our bird feeder, because it was lower than we thought it was, and the big does were still getting at it. So we've since left it empty, and we'll be putting it up in a higher place. We're not saying don't feed the birds. The birds appreciate when you feed them in the winter, but make sure that the feeders are out of reach of the deer and other animals. Thanks.
On that note, today I was looking at my window. We have a bird feeder. We've got it quite high. I can't reach it, so okay, it's not that high. I just realized, yeah. I looked out the window, and the deer was eating the seed on the ground, and then it got up on its hind legs and pawed at the bird feeder and ate the bird seed that came off. I went, wow.
Oh, you can expect a fine.
I can expect a fine, but I didn't expect him to get up that high. I
don't know where Gary is, but it's a confession.
Okay, anyway, full disclosure.
Why not? Transparency.
All right, no other correspondence. Be it resolved that the January 21st, 2020 regular council meeting be adjourned. The next regular council meeting will be held on Tuesday, February the 18th, 2020 at 6:30 in the Winnipeg office. We are not having a meeting in early February. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Axworthy. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, ma'am.